bop beep boop beep bop. Bop bop beep boop beep beep bop beep boop. Why is Sea Shanty 2 stuck in my head? Hey friends, it's UrsulasRevenge, and today we have a blog post. It's the last Friday of the month, which is usually when they post their blog posts, and they did deliver today. So this month's blog post, we have 3 topics to discuss. The first one is actually very important because it sets some expectations for Marchenghast, and I'm not gonna lie, initially reading it I was a little disappointed, but now that I've sat and processed it, I think it's actually okay. The second one is about the Connemara, and the last one is how the team uses community feedback when designing their horses, and that one's actually a really interesting read. So we're going to go through all of them like normal. I'm going to read the article to you, I'm going to play the game in the background, and I'll just kind of give you my thoughts and feelings about each section as we go. So starting up, this one is very important. If you are very excited about Marchenghast, please listen carefully to this. This part of the article is called Marchenghast, and it is written by Stacey Place, the game director. It's time for our third update about the upcoming new area, Marchenghast. The initial release is drawing near, and there will now be multiple releases, so I'd like to share the details with you. We knew going into this project that it would be large, and after every brainstorming comes the scoping down to reality. Even then, during production, you begin to scope down further, and the nice-to-haves start getting crossed out as the project's complexity becomes more apparent. In the case of Marchenghast, we realized that to hit our goal of opening the area in February, we would have to cut so much that it would start negatively impacting the experience, and that's not what we're aiming for. So we decided to split the project into 2 chunks. The first chunk will still be happening in February. Marchenghast will make its debut on February 11th along with the initial experience. The following week, on February 18th, the journey will continue with the release of the next part of the content. The second chunk will also be released over 2 weeks, but they will come a bit later. Right now we're aiming for April and May after the Equestrian Festival. Splitting the releases gives our team the additional time they need to deliver a fun and meaningful new area. For players who experience this as we release it, that might be a disappointment, and I can relate. Patience is not one of my strong suits. For those who begin their Marchenghast journey later on, the split will not be noticeable at all. After listening to the team's concerns and striving to make our efforts worth the value to you, we feel that this is the right call, and we hope that you, our players, will understand and enjoy this new adventure. Okay, so basically, they've kind of explained the release schedule. So to not compromise on cutting back too much from the experience and having it all available right up front, they are doing a tiered release. So week 1 on February 11th, we are getting one part, like the beginning of the journey, essentially, like your little introduction. The next week, we are going a little bit further past that introduction and getting a little bit more details about the area and being able to explore it. So that 2-week update cycle is essentially the first chunk of the Marchenghast update. There will be a second chunk also released in a 2-week period that will give us the remainder of the Marchenghast experience, so it'll be complete by then. And in the meantime, while we wait, they did confirm that the Equestrian Festival will be happening before April-May. So probably March to April, we may be getting the Equestrian Festival. But that's like complete like side note. So I'll kind of walk you through like how I process that. So on one hand, I was a little disappointed thinking like, oh no, like people are going to be so disappointed that it's not going to be a complete experience and that they're going to have to wait for more stuff. And then the influx of upsetting and depressing comments about people disliking the game is just going to be like intensified, and it's going to negatively ripple across the community. These are all the things that I think about. But then I kind of processed it a little bit more, and this does help us pace a little bit more. In a game where there's so many people saying that there's nothing to do and that they don't have anything new, especially if you're like a high level player and there's no new experiences for you, I could also understand kind of like the value in releasing this in chunks, because it forces you to kind of sit in the update for a little bit longer and kind of experience and fully explore the first part of this new area. And then maybe 2 to 3 months later, we will get the rest of the story, and then you'll have the whole thing complete. And it's not like there's not going to be anything in those 2 to 3 months. The Equestrian Festival will take up an entire month of that. So there will still be things to do. Another thought that crossed my mind was this is also kind of how they released Hollow Woods also. So when it came to Hollow Woods, we got the first 2 Paths of Magic, and then I think it was 3 or 4 months later, we got the final Path of Terra, which also introduced gardening, so an additional gameplay mechanic. I know people were also frustrated about that at the time, but I honestly think that that was the right choice, because Path of Magic takes so long to complete having that buffer where you could only focus on the first two paths and then you get the third path, which arguably is the best source of like leveling up anyway, I think it makes sense. Like, you kind of have like a little slow start, you get used to the system, and then they introduce another element, and then that element helps you complete everything. So whether or not it was intentional, I think that was a great decision, especially when it came to Hollow Woods. So I'm hoping, especially if there's a new gameplay element that allows us to kind of like fill up the time in between, I'm really hoping that's the case. I think that that will also be a good decision, but we really don't know anything about what Marchenghast is going to include, aside from it kind of being done in 2 sections. Now, if I could speculate, I'm going to guess, and this is not guaranteed because we don't have any information, that maybe the first part that we're getting in February is just like the castle itself, and then everything that's going to come later maybe is like the Blighted Forest. But I don't know, maybe they're like really ingrained in each other and we're going to get both, but only parts of the story. I don't know. We're going to have to see by the end of February what we have and then see what's missing. So either way, I don't think that this is a bad thing. I do agree that it is going to be disappointing for the community. They are already aware that it is going to be disappointing. The game director empathizes with this disappointment from a game development perspective. They think that this makes the most sense, and honestly, they're kind of the expert, so I'm going to trust them. We're still getting all of Marchenghast, we're still getting new content. It's just going to be spread out a little bit more, and that's not a bad thing. So that's kind of the bulk of all I wanted to say about this Marchenghast update. Of course, it's disappointing, but again, I really don't think it's a bad thing. I think it'll be fine, especially once the second portion comes out. We're never going to notice that there was a gap anyway, so it'll just be our memories. And honestly, I think that's fine. Moving on, we are going to talk about the Connemara, and this article was written by Lotta, freelance 3D artist. Hi there, my name is Lotta, not to be confused with Lotta the art lead, and I've been a freelance 3D artist for Star Stable the past year. I've had the honor to work on the remake of the first Generation 3 horse, the Connemara. Once upon a time, did you know the Connemara, or Capellan Connemara in Irish, was once an endangered breed? The Connemara Pony Breeders Society was established 103 years ago, 50 years after a devastating famine left Ireland with few farmers and even fewer horses. Thanks to this registry, the Connemara breed was preserved and is still thriving today. They still honor the old European term for coat colors, which caused me quite some confusion during the making of the coat variants. Not only do they call what I know as a buckskin a dun, the registry also allows for roan. Those seem so elusive in the breed that for a while I wondered if they even existed today at all, or if roan, like dun, was used differently when the breed was established. It turned out that roan does indeed have the same name now and then. Cutie Connemara confirmation. Through our research, it became clear that Connies are intelligent and hardy and tend to be especially popular as show jumpers. This is why we've chosen to go with a sporty build. It was many players' request to have them on the larger side, so we made them as high as their registry allows. To get a good base for the silhouette and the textures of the Connemara, I made a rough sculpt first. Due to many different influences of other breeds and the Connemara, the head shapes can vary quite a bit. We chose a slightly more dainty head shape combined with a thin neck and broader chest, conforming to the breed standard. At this stage, the Connie was completely bald, but not for long. When we were still researching what kind of identity this horse should have, I made some sketches to explore different kinds of mane styles and how they could shape the Connie's personality. In the end, we decided one wavy and one straight, simple look on the shorter side, since they are not known for their long, lush manes. I wanted to include at least one wavy option as a nod to their part Iberian ancestry. To make these equines fit the world of Jorvik, I paid extra attention to their eyes. As all Star Stable horses, they have a human-like iris that can be colored like the rainbow, perfect to make coat hues pop a little. These were very early color sketches. I hope you enjoyed this little peek into the 3D art process of this little horse. They were an absolute delight to work on, and I hope they bring you as much joy in the game. Not really much to comment on there. It was really cute insight. I love seeing the sketches. I love when they do like the behind the scenes graphics. And yeah, I mean, I've talked about the Connie for like the last couple weeks. I think they nailed it. I think it's so cute. And finally, the last section is From Instagram to Jorvik by Hannah, the social media, PR, and communications manager. Hey, we've seen a few questions pop up on our socials about how player feedback actually makes its way into horse development. Short answer, it really does. Long answer, here we go. Before we start production on your new horse, we head to our socials to ask you what you're hoping for. Coat colors, body conformation, personality, riding style, the whole package. We collect a lot of opinions, wish lists, and very strong feelings. All of that feedback is incredibly important to our horse team before they begin. It helps ground the process in a real player perspective, combined with the expertise of our horse team. When the horse team kicks off a new production, they start with a proper deep dive. That includes community feedback, historical research, real-life examples, and a look at what already exists in Jorvik and what might be missing. From there, they build a pitch where everyone aligns on things from coat colors to celebrity personality inspo to overall direction. Let's take the Connemara as an example. The top 3 most voted coat colors by players were Grey Flea-Bitten, Grey Dappled, and Palomino. Those all made it into the final selection of 7 coats, and fun fact, those gray coats were among the top 3 most popular choices in the first couple of days after release. You called it. For body conformation, the message was clear. Players wanted a long, lean limbs with a muscular and refined build. If you've seen the Connemara in game, you'll probably recognize that influence right away. Lotta and the team absolutely took that feedback to heart. Personality-wise, the top request was cheeky, goofy, and playful, which translated perfectly into those mischievous bucks and bouncy little moments. I may be biased, but it's hard not to smile at them. Riding style was a bit more split. We saw fairly even interest in dressage, eventing, show jumping, and all around. This is where the horse team steps in with extra research to decide on a final direction. Since Connemaras are popular show jumpers, that helps shape their final sporty build and movement, while still remaining suitable for any discipline. So thank you for answering our question boxes. We genuinely love being able to build something alongside the community. Have you met the new Connemara in Jorvik yet? And more importantly, did it live up to your expectations? For me, yes. But again, I've talked about this at length. I think that they did a great job. I think that they nailed them being sporty, definitely nailed their personality, and it's nice to know that player feedback does actually influence when it comes to actually designing these horses. If you were not aware, earlier in the week, I think it was earlier in the week, they posted another series of like those kind of feedback boxes, but for a new horse breed, which is the American Quarter Horse. We are getting an updated American Quarter Horse later this year. At this point, I think we only know 4 of the horses coming this year. Last year we did have 6, so I'm curious if there's going to be 2 more this year, or if there's only going to be 1, but I don't know. We definitely had them, like, I think all confirmed before the start of the year, but I'm pretty sure last year we had them all confirmed by now, but I could be wrong. It could have been, like, early March, but we'll see. Either way, that is the entire blog post and everything I really wanted to talk about today. Let me know what you think, what other horses you're excited for this year, which ones you're hoping to update. I'm low-key hoping that they decide to update the Jorvik Warmblood in like later in the year, maybe to coincide with the 15th anniversary birthday. Maybe. There isn't like a true like birthday event anymore, but like they can still, I mean, they still acknowledge it. So I mean, maybe that'll be kind of like the 15-year perk is New Jorvik Warmblood. I think that would be pretty neat. But obviously, speculation and wish list, not confirmed. So, but that's it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another video like this. I do try to cover every Wednesday update and more. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye!